Welcome to season 2 of the Happy Sensory Corner podcast. At Mendability, we want to help everyone, but especially when they're vulnerable, to feel happier, more comfortable in their own skin, more confident, so that they can be their true selves and we can all journey together through life more happily. Our contribution is to work on brain health as our brains grow stronger, healthier, faster, all of that stuff, all of us benefit. But this is especially good for those among us who maybe struggle with, sensory overload or crippled with anxiety or struggle with sleep. And so we developed a gentle, family-centered program of whole brain games that boosts brain development and activates the brain's self-healing mechanisms. It's based on the neuroscience field of environmental enrichment, and we call it sensory enrichment because we like to focus on the sensory and motor experiences that have an impact on brain development, brain function. And so while we're experts in boosting brain development, we know there's so much more that parents have to navigate. For example, what about navigating the issues of, children becoming adults and all that entails from aging out of programs, funding, accommodated living, finding a job? I'm sure I missed a few important ones, and that's why I'm excited today to speak with April and Z Ratchford. April is one of the leading influencers around the topic of adulting with autism, but even more exciting, we get to talk to her son, Z. Z is a 22-year-old adult on the autism spectrum. Welcome, April and Z.
Thank you.
I'll do a little bio on you, April. You're an occupational therapist. You've got a podcast, um, but I think, and I remember when we prepared for this episode, you said the most important thing is actually that you're a mom and that you know firsthand the struggles that autistic young adults face when they transition out of high school. April realized that as a society, we're dropping the ball on these young adults, leaving families with limited resources, if any, little guidance for the next stage of life. And so now you've created Adulting with Autism, a podcast born from your determination to help others avoid the pitfalls that you encountered. And what I love about your story is how personal it is. You saw how much potential there is for independence with just a little extra help, and then you stepped up to guide parents and young adults through the mess of outdated systems. And then you, Z, you've got such a cool story. I'll let you talk about it in more detail. Well, what I'm going to do is ask both of you kind of the same questions. I think I'll start with mom, April, and then I'll ask you Z some follow-up questions. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
I like to start as early as possible with all of our guests. April, your motivation, your journey. Did something happen to little April, when you were a little girl that kind of planted the seed for where you are now, being an advocate and a champion for all the parents who have kids who are now transitioning into the big wild world of living like an adult?
Absolutely not. I had no idea I would do this. Little April thought she was going to be an artist and not an occupational therapist. Um, it just so happened that when Z was born, um, he was born with spina bifida, and then we found out he had autism. And at the time, I was a nurse. And when I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree, I switched to become an occupational therapist to better introduce myself to what autism was and be his advocate throughout school And um, as he went through school, I was that advocate for him and guided him along the way. But after school, I didn't realize there was nothing more for him. There was no guidance. And so um, I decided to make the podcast because um, at the time, I would have thought somebody else would have made the steps and strides for autistic young adults. And since no one did, I just kind of stepped up to the plate and stumbled into it. And here I am, kind of taking the reins and helping other parents guide their other kids because I feel like all autistic young adults should be independent and living their best lives.
What resources did you have access to when you first started your journey with Z?
We basically had just voc rehab. That's it. That's all we had. And maybe a little bit of knowledge that he could go to college because he graduated high school. But other than that, there was nothing else. Like, basically, I kept him out of college for a year because I knew he wasn't ready. He didn't have the maturity to go off to college and be independent. So I kept him out for a year so I could teach him how to do his laundry, teach him how to cook food, teach him, hey, yeah, gotta be on a schedule and hygiene and all these things you're gonna have to do independently while you're in college. And I even wasn't sure he was still ready to go because you pretty much are on your own in college and he wanted to try. And I was like, okay, because in a typical college, all you have is, of course, you have student accessibility, but it's not autism specific. So I let him go, and it was a crash and burn because it wasn't autism specific. So unfortunately, with that, it hurt his self esteem because he felt like he was a failure, but really, it was the school failing him because it wasn't specific enough to his needs and not playing into his strengths. So he felt like he was not good enough like his peers. So I feel like a lot of the time, typical colleges don't play into the strengths of autistic students that don't really fit into um, typical colleges. Not to say that all autistic students don't do well in college, because I have older niece and nephew who did fine that are autistic, but not everybody can do that. And there's just not enough programs out there that show that autistic students can do other things to their strengths besides college. So,
Z, mom's says that you really wanted to college, and I have to, you know, applaud April for like, I don't know, but just going ahead anyway. I like it's kind of my style, shoot first and ask questions later. That's kind of how I do it. Or another way of saying it is it's better to ask for permission, for forgiveness than to ask for permission. But do you remember um how early, like back in school, you wanted to go to college? What topic did you want to study? Like, what did you want to do when you wanted to grow up? You know, when you were a kid, did you go around saying, "I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a firefighter," like most kids? Do you
I
remember?
I wanted to be a video game designer.
Cool. What was your what kind of game?
Uh, it really all depends on what ideas I get. Like it could be horror, it could be an adventure kind of game, it could be an RPG. It really all depends on what ideas I get.
What's the um what's the biggest I or what's the I what's the earliest, what's the first video game idea you had? Do you remember?
An adventure type of game.
Yeah? Like what?
Um, it stems from religion, which is kind of a finicky kind of thing for a video game to do because sometimes sometimes it offends people and I understand that, but like it was an idea I wanted to try.
Yeah? Like what? Like to grow up to become a priest or is it like evolve in your relationship with a divine being? This is sort of what I'm thinking when you say adventure based. No, because you didn't say RPG, you just said adventure. So
hmm
what was the game? Can you describe it?
It basically was about an angel who fell from heaven and was trying to regain his eminence, trying to regain his place in heaven by helping to fight against Satan and his fallen angels. And
It reminds me
all
of a movie. I think it's Constantine. It's got the guy who did The Matrix, Keanu Reeves, and I think he. I don't know. This
Yeah, it
is
very much sounds like Constantine, and
doesn't
he's
it?
never seen the movie.
You've never seen the movie,
no,
dude? This is a classic.
well, I didn't know that it existed, so
I'm blaming your mother for this. So, have you done any work towards implementing that idea? Like, have you got like, how do you work? Do you write a sketch? Do you write a script? Do you build stuff? What's your process?
I tried to do coding, which it didn't really end well
You go
because
straight into coding?
I went straight into it, but it didn't end well because I didn't have anyone to teach me. I didn't I didn't really have anyone to guide me. So it was pretty much a crash and burn kind of thing.
Yeah, your mom talked about crash and burn for college. So, it sounds like you've had at least two crashes and burns. How did you handle like at what point did you say I need somebody to guide me. I can't go any further on my own.
When I when I s- when I started to hit dead ends over and over.
April, do you remember that time when he was trying to code the game and he was hitting dead end after dead end? Or did you tell your mom about it?
I told her about it. She saw it like bits and pieces, but I didn't show her like too much because I was a bit embarrassed, like to show anyone.
April, do you remember that time, that period?
And Z's one of these kids that he felt that he because he looked up to his older cousins, and they seemed to just sail through school, that he should have sailed through school. And I keep telling him, I'm like, everybody isn't all the same. Everybody has their own path.
Did you sail through
And
school, April?
Huh? Did I fail
Did
through
you?
school?
Yes.
No, I failed out 5 times. So I was not a great student. It took me 5 tries to make it through college. So, and my sister sailed through school, and she's my younger sister. So I had to tell him my story. I was like, dude, I didn't sail through school. It took me, I was 30 before I started college again and really got it. So college isn't for everybody the first time out the gate. And you really have to be mature enough to really go to college. And looking back, hindsight 2020 for me, I wasn't ready to go. But coming out of school in 1994, that was expected of me. So I was the first kid. There was no such thing as not going to school. So that was my option. Go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to be. So I made my parents happy. I went to college and I crashed and burned. And I kept crashing and burning. And then my mom decided, well, guess what? I'm going to enter you in nursing school. So she literally signed me up for nursing school and told me the night before that I had class the next day. She signed me up for
Wait, hang
nursing
on a
school.
second. You went to college and it didn't work out, and you go to your parents and say it's not working out, and your mom's decision faced with that discussion is try again
Pretty
with a
much.
different. Okay. Is this how you did it with Z?
Yeah, like my parents were the type of parents you're going to keep doing something until you figure out a career. And I just happened to, because this nursing course was a licensed practical course and it was 1 year and it was short enough that it kept my interest and my attention, that I did it in 1 year. So I passed that and I was like, okay, I'm a nurse. And I ended up doing that for like 10 years and I happened to be really good at it. So I ended up being a trauma nurse for a decade. Make my parents happy. But
And then Z showed up.
then yeah, exactly. Then Z showed up. And when Z showed up, I didn't want that for him. I wanted him to make his own choices. So when he came out of school, I told him, it doesn't matter what you want to do. Like, if you don't want to go to school, don't go to school. If you want to go to school, go to school. It makes no difference. So, but because he wanted to do video game design, I knew he had to go to college, but I also had the hindsight of knowing that he wasn't mature enough yet to
What
hold
does
him
that
back.
mean? You've used the word mature a lot. You've said you weren't mature, he was not mature. What's your definition of mature enough to go to college?
Um, my definition of mature is being able to know you're going to have to be responsible for your schedule, be responsible for time management, that you're going to have to hold yourself accountable and understand accountability, that this is on you. Your parents aren't the ones that are going to get you up. You're on your own. Is to be accountable for your own decisions. And that's my kind of definition of maturity. If you don't understand that when you go off to college that you're going to have to be accountable for your own decisions, and no one else is going to save you. It's you and you alone. You're not ready to be out there yet.
See how, when did you get the first feeling that you wanted to go out in the big wild world and be a big, I was gonna say grown up. It's a funny way of saying it. But when was your? Would you remember the first time you felt I want to be independent? I want to do this. I want to go to college. I want to learn this. I want to be a video game designer. Thank you, Mom. I love you. You're awesome. But I'm on my own now.
When I became 19 and 20.
Yeah. Did you tell your mom right away, or did you just keep it to yourself for a while? Did you think your
I
mom was mature enough to hear that?
I felt like I felt like I wasn't ready yet at 18. So when I when I when I graduated high school, I stepped back for a year, and when I when I reached the age of 19, I thought I was ready for college, and I crashed and burned.
So you've had this crash and burn experience. If you had to do it all over again, is there, like, what would you say to teachers, doctors, support workers of any kind? What would you like them to know so that they would know how to guide you or know how to prepare the environment so that at 19 years old you would not crash and burn? What do you wish they knew that maybe they don't yet?
That I that I'm on the autism spectrum, that I have specific needs that need to be met, and if they
Like
are
what?
not, if I need like extra time on an assignment or on a test, then I need it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna like rush through it and try to finish it like on time. And when I did that, it it did not end well.
So do you feel like extra time is the only thing that would have made the difference?
No, there are other things that I need. I need like tutoring. I need need someone to explain things like more
Like
clearly,
one-on-one tutoring?
like one-on-one tutoring, yeah. And I need someone to explain assignments more clearly, like in a way that I would understand. And I would need I would need like a study guide like that. It's like made for people like me.
Study guide. This is interesting. You're talking like a separate book. That you got the regular book for video game design, and you got like a book for video game design for people on the spectrum.
hmm I would need something like that, but
And what does that book look like? Well, how is it different than a regular video game design learning book?
it would from what I'm thinking of, it would look more like it would look more clear to people who are on the spectrum, people who are like me,
Do you have an
and
example of an assignment that was really confusing, but somebody explained it to you and it became super clear? Do you have an example of that?
I will try to remember. There were there was one assignment where I had to write I had to write down it's it was about world religions, but it was basically I had to write down an on-demand kind of thing, like which which is like an essay,
Yeah.
and it and on the assignment I had to write down what 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 culture each religion came from and what 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 gods they worship and how they worship them and what their culture entails.
Okay.
And that was that was extremely confusing because world religion is not really my thing.
Was it
And
the question that was confusing, or do you couldn't see what the result was that they were looking for?
a little bit of both actually.
And do you remember what clicked? Like who or what happened that all of a sudden say, oh, okay, I know what they're asking for and I know where to get the information. Do you remember what happened?
Um, I'm trying to remember because it was a while ago.
Was it your mom? Was it a teacher? Or was it reading it over and over again?
I think it was more like my mom and reading it over and over again because my teacher was not exactly helpful.
Do you remember what it is that your mom did?
If I can remember correctly, she read if I remember she read over it and explained it in a way that only I could understand.
Do you think that anybody, like somebody like me, would be able to explain the same assignment in a way that you would understand? Or does it have to be somebody that knows you very well?
Um, I think it would have to be it would have to be someone who both understands me very well and people like you who understand like autism, which which is something which is like which is like what the world needs at this point because we need people who understand autism.
Because what I would bring to the table, if I were a college professor, I would, and I knew I had, students on the spectrum, I have a general understanding of how the brain works. I have a general understanding, but of how not everybody's brains kind of wired the same way, and some people end up specializing in some areas, but becoming when they specialize, they kind of forget and ignore some other areas. But the thing is, everybody is so different. The way your brain specialized would be totally different than somebody else who's also on the spectrum, and so I don't know if my awareness, it sounds like you're saying you need somebody who understands your specialization, like how your brain works, and that is difficult to do. How
Yeah,
so what now, so you've had that crash and burn experience in college. Now you've had another experience in college and you've been successful.
not exactly. Like I did better, but it was still a crash and burn kind of situation.
So you're on two crash and burns now, crushes and burns.
Yeah, like the
Is there
second
anything
time I did.
different? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I've got like tons of questions. I'm so excited to be able to speak to somebody like you who's like in it. We speak to parents all the time, and you know what? Parents say the same thing most of the time, but it's really cool to have this opportunity to speak with you. And so, I apologize for interrupting you. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that my the second time the was slightly better because I didn't fail all my classes, but I failed too many to continue. So when I so even if I even if I e- even with the extra help like the tutoring, like I tried, but something just didn't click.
If if you had the freedom of taking the course and failing it as many times as it took until you got it, if they removed the pressure of you got to pass this, otherwise if you flunk this, everything falls apart. It feels to me like it would make a difference if you felt free to experiment and find out what it is that you don't know your way and find out what it is that you need to do to learn it properly the second time around, or maybe even the third time around. Feels like they would be like a cool thing that colleges could do. I mean, it's expensive, I guess, because now you have to pay the professor twice, three times. How does that sound like an idea? How would it feel if you could just take it over and over again as many times as you needed to?
Well, if I had the choice to take it over and over again without that pressure, then yeah, I would do it because if I feel like if I could, I'll eventually get it. But like you said, college is expensive
Hmm.
and
So, how could we solve this? Do you have an idea? How could we set up college so that you could pass so you don't need to do it, you don't need to use the professor's time over and over. It feels like this would be a limiting factor, and if we could find a solution so that you could do things your way but only use the professor's time once, what would we need to do?
well, there is one idea that I had, but I don't know if it's like feasible.
Yeah.
When I was in high school and the last year, like the like like in the last year we had to do online classes, but it wasn't but we didn't have to do like a a full on class like with a teacher. We it was like a it was like you had the assignments, you had the material. You just have to do the assignments and turn them in and be great, have them graded by the teachers. If colleges were to like have that where but have it so that you can fail as many times as you want as long as you're able to like be as long as you're able to like be able to s- start over or like start again like over and over until you get it. Like that would just make things a lot better for the students.
April, you've been listening, and I know you're a solutionizer because you're the one who said, this doesn't exist, so I'm going to make it happen. This doesn't exist, so we're going to talk about this so that more people will know and don't have to go through the same mistakes I did. So you've seen college fail for Z. What do you think colleges need to do differently so that Z can do it and only use the teacher once but maybe do it over multiple times. It's not like we've got something here. Like how would you solutionize this?
For kiddos like Z, I think it starts earlier simply because it's not exactly the it's their executive functioning, because they're so behind in their executive functioning. It's not that they don't catch up to their peers, it's just that it takes them longer to develop that executive functioning that you need in college. And for them, a lot of them don't see the purpose in taking a whole bunch of classes they're not going to need. And rightfully so. I'm like, if you don't like literature, you're not really interested in it. Why are you going to spend your time really forcing yourself to like it? So if we could just change the education system, which is almost impossible, to maybe work on kids' executive functioning skills earlier and let them learn how to better navigate that, learn skills, how they can improve their executive functioning, they might do better in navigating the world. But
So you would
also,
change, and I think you're touching on something that all of parents want. It's not so much memorizing a whole bunch of formulas and history dates and who wrote what, but more of an education that's whose purpose is to teach people how to think for themselves, how to think, like study how to study. We do in school, you don't teach time management, you don't teach learning management, you don't teach money management, you don't teach relationship management. They have some classes where they learn life skills, but it's almost like an afterthought, and they're reversing the things so that you learn all those things and then you decide um, how it is you want to contribute to the world based on your talents and your interests. So that's one thing, but I'm also thinking that maybe a baby step in the right direction would be self-paced programs with like additional with maybe peer learning, where maybe the people who've advanced through the course can be recruited to assist the people who are just starting the course, but those sessions happen when they need to happen. And maybe the first year Z does one class, and then the second year he does three classes, and then it kind of builds and it becomes more and more proficient at it. um I've got some ideas, and this is probably very boring for our audience. What we want to hear from is not me, but from you and Z. So let's go back to let's we switch directions a little bit. You said um uh uh April, I want to talk about sleep. I'm gonna have to edit this bit a second. We need to find a way to transition. Or maybe, is there something else you want to address to that are here's what I want to say. One second.
um,
I need to repeat the transition because it didn't work. Um, so switching directions just a little bit. If there was one thing that you wish parents knew that they need to prepare for ahead of time, we got a lot of people listening whose kids are, 8, 9, 10 years old. They've got another 10 years before they age out of high school and prepare for adulthood. What do you think people should do right now to prepare for that as a parent?
Know that there are transitional programs out there for kiddos like Z that will teach them independent living skills, and that should they decide they want to do vocational programs or colleges, that they will teach them how to do those courses while they're learning how to do independent living. Like, the end all be all doesn't have to be college, job, vocational. There should be that other option of transitional program where they do get those independent living skills, where it does teach them money management, time management, relationship, social skills, um, learning how to drive, learning how to make friends, things that they still need to work on after high school.
I'm I'm looking at Z's body language and I'm dying to ask Z, do you agree with your mom? Is this the one thing that you think parents need to know when the kid is 10? Like, is there one thing that you wish your mom knew when you were 10 that would have made a huge difference to where you're at today?
I don't think that 10-year-olds should be worried about this at that age.
Oh no, we were talking about moms. As April, what do you wish parents knew? Know because we've got parents who have children who are 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I asked April, what do you think parents need to know now to help them prepare for adulthood? And it sounds to me like April was saying there's hope. There are things out there. When your kid turns 18, you're not completely on your own and you don't have to go necessarily to college. There's lots of things you can do. And if I knew that, then it would help me relax. I say, okay, my 8-year old, it's fine. When we're 18, there's things and we're going to be okay. Let's focus on the present. This is what I heard. Is it kind of what you were saying, April, or did you have something else in mind?
Yeah, like, if someone had told me when he was a kid, there are transitional programs out there and that he would learn skills and be able to navigate the adult world and have time, I don't think I would be in such a panic of what am I going to do with this kid?
You
And is he
were
going
in
to
a
be
panic
okay?
a little bit. And so the question for you, Z, is your mom was saying, "Oh, there's all these programs, and we need to teach kids earlier how to do all those things." And it felt to me when I was looking at you that you were like, "Nah, this is not what I wish mom knew earlier."
Well, I kind of wish she knew about this when I was a teenager, when I was like learning, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. Cause when you're a kid, you're not really thinking that through. But but I think parents should focus on that more when they're like when they first start out in high school, because because that to me that's like when things like start going into place.
What are those things that you would like moms to start focusing on when their kids go into high school?
Um, like focus and more what they really like and what their interests are, rather than what you want them to do. Because if you're like gonna force if you like force your kid to like go into like a profession that they don't really care for, they're just gonna crash and burn
Mm-hmm.
like even more than I did.
Um, it's funny what you're saying, Z, about parents. They should, think more about what their kids want rather than what they want for their kids. That's like what every kid wants when they go into high school, isn't it? When you think about it, April.
And he is so right. He is so right.
So do you remember having wishes for Z? Do you remember thinking, I'm not gonna ask him what he wants because he probably doesn't know or something like that?
Um, you know, I at the time, I when he said he wanted to be a video game designer, I was like, "No, no, you don't want to do that." And then
Why
as
did you
time
think
went
that? Do you
on,
remember?
yeah, I was like, as time went on, I'm like, no, this is his rodeo. I got to step back and let him do what he wants to do. Because at the end of the day, this is his world. And if he's going to live it, let him live it on his terms.
I would like to switch directions a little bit because you and I, April, we thought we'd do a little bit of an experiment. There is a free guide that we've posted on our website. People can download where they can, without involving us, they can just follow the instructions and do some things to stimulate the parts of their brain that are involved in regulating the sleep mechanisms. And because you said when we were preparing for this podcast that, Z didn't sleep all that well, had some struggles to sleep sometimes. So I said, hey, why don't you try the free guide and then do it with Z and then share with us live kind of how it went? Because I think what I'd like to do is there's a lot of parents out there who probably will want to download this free guide and like, oh, how did it work? So tell us the good, the bad, the ugly. Where do you want to start? So while you're thinking about this, I'll just describe what that free guide is. We call it Sweet Slumber in 3 simple sensory steps. We use a sense of touch, we use a sense of smell, and we also listen to some music, so the sense of hearing, to stimulate, to get the brain a chance to experience a boost of serotonin. And serotonin plays a huge role in regulating things like melatonin and a sleep cycle and a circadian cycle and being able to feel calm and relaxed so you can fall asleep, trying to manage those racing thoughts that kind of happen sometimes when you fall asleep. All of a sudden, all of the worries in the world decide to show up and you have to manage them. So serotonin plays a big role. Dopamine also plays a big role in managing sleep, especially the transition from wake to sleep and then back from sleep to wake. And so we have some cute little experiences that are designed to give the brain some of those boosts. So, April, Z, tell us how it went. Maybe a question for April is, you know what? I don't want to ask you. I'm going to ask Z. I want to what was, of all the little games or little activities that we recommend that you do before sleep and during the day to help prepare with sleep, which one did you like the best? We'll start with the good.
Um, the peppermint really worked really well. Um,
What
the
did you do with
music.
the peppermint? Explain to the people listening because they haven't seen the
So
guide yet.
I got a piece of cloth and put like peppermint oil on it and shoved it in his pillow.
Mhm.
So when he tossed and turned or at night, it would have that scent.
Yes.
Because he does love the peppermint smell. And then he he um really likes it when we turn the temperature down in the house. So our house is now 66 degrees at night. So I freeze to death, but everybody else is happy. Um, see,
That's what blankets are for, right?
and then he plays music at night, which helps him sleep. And now that he does that, he doesn't have to take like melatonin because he was like popping melatonin like candy. And he doesn't take melatonin anymore. And he's sleeping through the night.
Wait, hang on a second. Tell us how his sleep was before. Or maybe
So,
Z could tell us how was your sleep before? Tell us how it felt before you started this. Tell us how it felt to do the little activities, and tell us how it feels now when you're trying to go to sleep.
Well, back before I did all this, my sleep schedule was way off because I would try to go to sleep at like 10 or 11, but I would end up staying awake until like 3 in the morning.
Like thinking about stuff, tossing and turning. Was your mind blank, or there was a thought that kept coming? Why did you stay awake? Do you know? What was it like?
I can't really recall what I was thinking about. All I
Okay.
remember is that it just kept me awake all night. Like, well, not all night, but you get what I mean.
Yeah. And so your mom came to you, Z, and said, "Hey, I met this guy. He's got some ideas of little quick things we can do that are supposed to help with sleep." What did you think?
At first, to be honest, I was a bit skeptical because I didn't think anything was going to help me.
But you
what
tried
you're really
anyway, right?
sad
Because you're a
was
good
what he
sport.
really said when I told him that he was like, Mom, I think is he not? I don't believe you. This ain't real.
Is that what you said, Z?
Not quite, but what I actually said was I didn't be- I didn't be- don't believe you. There's no there's nothing that can help me. I'm
He
just stuck like this
he thought it was fake.
All right, but what made you want to try it anyway?
because I really had no other option.
All right, yeah, fair enough. So you tried it. What was the first time? What was it like to experience, the little smell? And I know there's a touch component, and I think you didn't like it. Is that right?
No, I did not.
To describe the touch part, April, what was it that we recommend to do?
He we tried because we I tried massaging his hands because I knew touch. Even as a kid, he didn't really care for touch. So I tried like maybe massaging his hands for with lavender lotion. We didn't like that. He was like,
What does it feel like to you when somebody tries to do a gentle hand massage on your hand?
It feels like have my personal space invaded.
Oh, is that interesting? I expected you were going to say it feels painful, it feels ticklish, but you were saying, don't touch my hands. I don't want you to touch my hands.
Yeah, I don't like touch in general.
Okay, but did you let her do it anyway, or did you
I
just drop that protocol altogether?
No, I let her try it, but at the same time, I knew I was gonna like it.
Did you like it at all at any point, or did you guys stop doing it in the end?
We kept trying it, but every single time it ended up the same way. I did not like it.
Okay, okay. So, which one, the scent on the pillow, your mom said that you loved having the peppermint on the pillow. So that was nice, right? And then there's a music part as well, and you said you like that. How did it feel the first time you fell asleep?
Well, it felt like I could finally rest for once because when I before I felt like I can only sleep when my body finally gives out, but now I can finally just sleep soundly without feeling constantly on edge.
And how does that feel, knowing that now if you want to, you can just sleep. It's not going to be a problem anymore.
I guess relax, I guess.
He's no longer moody.
Yeah? Tell us more, April.
When he wasn't sleeping, he's like really irritable. He's he's not a pleasant person when he doesn't sleep.
Oh, who is? Right?
So, but now he like smiles more. He's more receptive to like jokes, and he's just a more pleasant person to be around. Like prior to this, I was like, "Oh, you're just not a pleasant person." Oh, him not sleeping is not a good thing.
Same. I'm not a pleasant person to be around if I haven't slept. And it looks like he hadn't been able to sleep at all. Like you sleep at Z, you sleep, it's been what, 22 years of not a whole lot of sleep, right?
Basically.
And how long have you, so it's been a week, right? Week, 10 days since you've been able to sleep?
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any changes, how has that affected your day-to-day life?
Well, at work, I'm able to function, and
So if we asked your boss and we say, "Hey, have you noticed a difference in Z in the last week or so?" What do you think he would say? Has he come to you and say, "Hey, Z, you're nice to be around"?
uh, I'm not sure because I don't see my boss very often.
Right. April, do you talk to the boss at all?
I usually don't see his
You just drop
um
him off, right? And you just
yeah,
pick
I
him
just
up.
drop him off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. And have you there's something that happens with when we work with people, the first thing that we work on is make sure that they sleep well, right? And the reason is that it has an impact on so many things. One of the biggest thing is that your brain can now fix itself. It can now purge all of the toxins. There's so many things that need to happen during sleep that cannot happen when you don't sleep. And it just accumulates a whole bunch of crap essentially inside your brain. And now that you can sleep, the brain can purge. And so when you wake up during the day, it's like having a clean engine, having done an oil change. You know what I mean? And then we can start working on other things like cognitive processing. We talked about executive functioning. We talk about you know self-regulation, and some kids who cannot speak or non-speaking. We can start working on speech development, that kind of stuff. So I, but there's one when we work with adults in particular. and they start to sleep, there's a second thing that starts to happen, and I wonder if it happened to you as well, Z, is they start to see themselves in the future. They see themselves in the future in a different way than they did before. We have, young teenagers who talk about, I want to go to college, but they talk about something else. We have people who want to, I've been wanting to quit my job all this time. I'm not going to quit. And they're sort of full of energy and optimism about the future. And it's kind of a surge. It's like it happens in a burst. And I wonder if you experienced something similar, Z, where you had like a burst of optimism about the future or something like that. Now he's yawning. Okay, forget it. Then I guess it didn't happen.
All right.
Or is it all this
First
talk about sleep?
optimism.
Well, right now I'm still trying to catch up on sleep.
I hear you. Did you
Well,
have this experience of seeing yourself differently in the future?
not that I can remember. I can't
Okay.
really I can't really recall
Well, I
that.
mean, I also have to say, all you did was what the free guide does, right? And it's just a couple of little things that anybody can do that's supposed to have it's the biggest bang for your buck. Quick little thing, biggest impact on sleep. There's more that we can do, obviously. And for all these people, they were doing, the full program. But it's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with the sleep, but also giving us those tips, those insider insights into what it feels like to be in a college environment that's not fully adapted, and those ideas that you shared with us about what we can do to help the next generation of college students who are on the spectrum. I hope that we've inspired some people. I hope we've given hope to some parents. Thank you so much for being part of that, April and Z.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Has anybody called you A and Z?
No.
It just dawned on me. We got the whole alphabet right there. Everybody have a blessed week. Thanks for listening.